even now, I remember the day I landed in Shanghai, I'm waiting at the desk, there's like 10 people in front of me. I'm like, one guy, I'm just trying to check in.
Yeah.
And I'm paying for my hotel, I'm doing all these things. There's just a guy standing with the Ukrainian team, standing with like a flip file thing, and he's marking off all the dancers and their rooms as he's giving them their keys. And then he's like, I want to pay for this now. I needed a receipt. I got to send it to the federation.
Wow.
I'm like, whoa, okay. Yeah, I also needed a receipt. I'm going to send it to myself. And
It's a movie.
It's a lot, man.
Yeah.
Like,
welcome to another episode of the All Rounders Channel. Yes, we started.
No warning, nothing.
Nothing. We straight into it.
That time we need a woman.
Exactly.
Yay.
It's cold.
Yay.
It's cold. Yeah, welcome to another episode of the All Rounders SA podcast with myself, Pilasana Siklava, and of course Nono Pongolo, straight out of Cape Town.
No, not, bro. It's been 12 years now.
Yeah, but
we can't claim that.
But still, you're straight out of Cape Town.
Huh?
Eh?
No.
Langa Express.
Yeah, you can say Langa.
Okay.
I'm not going to claim Cape Town.
Okay. So you just want Langa.
Nah.
Okay.
7455.
Okay.
In case you didn't know.
Nons, you know what?
Yeah.
We've had some really great guests on our show, ne?
Yeah.
We've had like footballers, we've had cricketers, we've had rugby players, we've got a lot of like the mainstream kind of sports on our channel. And what I like about our channel is that
All-rounders, man.
we are the all-rounders.
All-rounders.
And it's deliberately so because now we get to speak to somebody that isn't mainstream. And I think usually you wouldn't see somebody speak to a breakdancer, world-renowned, globally, Olympian. Oh, okay.
That's a soft spot.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about
We'll get there. We'll get almost Olympian, but we'll get there.
You must put Bollywood.
Yeah, Bollywood.
Works.
Yes, Bollywood.
This is what happens when people leave Cape Town. So they get attitudes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives us great pleasure to welcome breakdancing royalty to the All Rounders podcast, Courtnaé Paul. Come on. Put your hands together.
Put your feet on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Put your feet on the ground.
No, she's short. We're saying that we've never had somebody dangle their feet while sitting here in the middle.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're the first for everything.
Courtnaé, how are you?
I'm alright.
I think you must put, sorry, at the end.
It's Courtnaé.
Yeah, you mustn't forget.
Please.
You know?
Okay, all right. Sorry, my bad.
Will they edit that out there?
Please, we
Just
must
do a soundbite.
we need a re-up. Firstly, and I think it's such a privilege for us to have you on the show because, like I said, we've always had mainstream sports on our show, cricket, rugby, football, you name it. But we've never had a breakdancer before. And we don't know much about breakdancing. We have to be honest.
Exploring with you.
We are exploring as we go.
Firstly, I'm happy to be your first, so thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you very much.
I promise we're going to do it nice and slow.
Yes,
you guys are going to be comfortable
gentle
all the
with
way.
us. Thank you.
It's really, man, I think part and parcel that comes with what I do. It's like you 9 out of 10 times going to have to explain to people like, firstly, they're just like, why do you even do that?
Yeah.
Like, who still does that? Like, you dance on a cardboard box? Like that stuff ended, back in the day type of vibe. So for me, it's really nothing new. And yeah, man, the first thing is to know that we don't say breakdancing.
Okay.
It's like you're going to bring out the fight in everybody.
All right.
Call it a breaker.
A breaker.
Breakdancing was like the commercial term in the media said, and then breakers were just like fighting on the streets. Like, don't call us that.
Really?
Yeah. It's quite... even in the Olympics, it's breaking. It's not breakdancing.
Okay. I read somewhere that the journey started with, and it's so funny for me because it was so interesting when I read about it, that you started dancing in church. Like, I come from a church where there's no dancing.
Which church is this?
Like, this is an Anglican church.
So my first experience with church, my family was all Methodist.
Yeah.
And if anybody knows a Methodist church, are you a Methodist boy? You go there for an hour, you don't know what's actually happening.
An hour?
My one. Anyway, the Devon one. The Devon one was an hour. Like, nobody actually knows what was happening in the church. It's like a lot of old people. There's an organ, like,
Yes.
and you're just there. Like, if they call you to be part of the moment, you're just there.
Yeah.
But the kids are outside playing. You do your hour, you go home.
Yeah.
And one of my best friends at the time went to a Pentecostal church.
Yes.
And the whole family was involved in this thing. Like, you should come and experience. And my dad was like, absolutely not. Come do your hour and then,
You must invest.
Yes, you do your hour and then whatever. So I remember the first Sunday, I go do my hour and then we walk literally across anybody who knows Durban, there's a road called North Coast Road. It's like the equivalent of like a William Nicol. It's like the main road.
Yeah.
We're running there in our church outfits because now I'm going to a Pentecostal for the first time.
Yeah.
I get there. I've never been like, it was the biggest culture shock I've ever experienced in my life. It was like rocking the daisies.
Yeah.
And like back to the city, but the gospel one, I could like, you walk in, there's a band, there's dancers, there's ushers. Hey, do you want to sit here? And then they're taking your money. It's so much.
There's a lot going
it's
on.
happening so fast, you know. And within, I think, a couple of weeks, I was part of the dance team because I was just like, that seems like something cool to do. It's like what all the youth did.
Nice, yeah.
And that was my first experience with dance. I had no idea that I could dance or that I had any like rhythmic relationship.
Okay.
And then, secular, I guess.
No, for me, actually, growing up, I think there's one thing about Durban nights.
Yeah.
As soon as you chat to them, they're going to tell you up front where they come from, especially in winter.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
first
because you
thing that
judged
she
me.
said.
Because you judged me for it.
I come from Durban. I'm not used to this.
Yeah, you
Guys,
judged
it's
me
called
for
the
it.
Joburg. So that's what she's referring to. Just growing up for you in Durban, how was that like in terms of your siblings and
Oh my
how
gosh,
was your
dude.
upbringing?
I had the time of my life.
Yeah.
Life was so simple.
Yeah.
Like I was always barefoot outside,
Yeah.
pushing bricks in sand,
Yes.
like climbing a tree, fetching the mangoes, stealing the neighbor's avos, like getting chased by that guy's dog. Like it was just, you know,
childhood.
like it was a childhood.
Yeah.
And I don't see that now. Like I think specifically where I live now, I don't know my neighbors.
Yeah.
My mom's house, if we go there, like if I drive into the yard, the neighbors are standing over the wall like,
Yeah.
hello,
Yeah,
welcome.
yeah,
Like, you know?
Yeah, it's,
But here, I don't feel that anymore. So I had the time of my life. I had no idea, now looking back, maybe the things I was missing in my life. So I think my family did a good job at that. We were just surrounded by, we had our drama.
Yes,
but
yes.
for the most part, it was just like, we were having a ball and that was it. Like we were a family, whether it was money, no money, food, no food, whatever. But there was music playing and we were all just having a vibe.
Yeah.
and in terms of siblings, you have...
Hey, I've got two sisters.
oh, okay.
I'm the middle.
Yeah.
We couldn't be any different. Like
Far, worlds apart.
But we look identical.
Okay.
So if you saw the three of us, I mean, we're 7 years and then 8 years apart. If you
Yeah.
saw the three of us, it's like what? Like we ran out of jeans. Like,
Yeah.
hey, copy paste.
Yeah.
You know, but we could not be more different. My older sister, lawyer, like hair, makeup,
Yes.
like yay, like if
Yes,
she walked in
proper
there, you'll be like,
corporate.
wow, like married, husband, baby,
Yes.
you know, like has her life figured out.
Yeah.
And then there's me that's just like, yay,
We
like
just
dancing at the robots, like just freestyling. And then the little one, who I suppose is not so little anymore, 24, just moved to Cape Town.
Yeah.
Really like smart, like just mature. So it was an interesting one where we just could not have been more different, but still somehow make sense together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, did that difference like really just hone who you are, who Courtney is, and like it took probably heed of what your interests were in life? Or do you just notice it from the get-go that I'm different from my siblings?
I think I always felt different, man. Like when my older sister would wear a lot of my clothes growing up, and she'd be like, "People think I'm wearing my boyfriend's clothes." I'm like, "Then take it off, ho!" Like, I'll never forget. I had like a Pikachu vest, like this orange Pikachu vest, which like was my favorite item of clothing.
Yeah.
And when she was feeling like, you know, she'd wear like your hot shorts, and then she put on the vest, and like that was her cool outfit. But for me, my dad always loved the idea that. He always used to say I was the son he never had. My dad used to coach like a local soccer team, and I was the only female on the field.
Yeah.
So he loved that about me, that I was, okay, is that your son? Okay, here's my daughter. Let's go. He loved that. My mother, not so much. She thought it was weird.
Yeah.
She was just like, that. People in the area are talking. I'm like, yeah, they're always
fine.
talking,
Yeah,
you know?
it's fine.
So when my dad passed, I was 13. So I think that shook up my family in a lot of ways, where we suddenly... We had to figure out who we are as a family now. I've got a completely different role to play. But I always felt different, and I think in the beginning, like I said, I didn't initially notice it till I started getting older, and then people made it a little bit more obvious, and then I was like, oh shit, am I not supposed to be this person?
Yeah.
And then I got a little bit more older, and then I was like, but you guys don't know who you are
Exactly.
either. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so I think it's always been a touch and go thing for me, where I'm just like, but this is who I am, man. And then I try be a little bit more digestible, and then I'm like, but no, you know,
It
so
shouldn't be
it's been a
like,
journey,
Nonsense.
For me, I mean, obviously, you mentioned a little bit there with your dad when it came to some sports.
Yeah.
In terms of now you growing up, what are you attracted to in terms of sport? What are the things that you were like being pulled towards when you were growing up?
So I played sport growing up. Like that was my thing. The dancing was never part of the plan. But I always tell people when I look at what I do dance-wise now, it's like all those sports that I did married each other and made me the dancer I am today.
Perfect.
So growing up, the first sport I did was gymnastics. I was 6.
Yeah.
My cousin was an elite gymnast at the time, but she couldn't compete. Apartheid, what.
Yeah.
So she was incredible. I used to run to the gym with her every week. Funny enough, it was just across the road from that other church. So maybe also
There's a lot that was happening here
that
with
was
this
road.
church.
There could have been a brothel next door. There was a lot on that road.
Yes.
So I did gymnastics from 6 for a couple years thereafter. I was really good, actually. I think she was.
You were on your Caitlin Rooskrantz.
You know what I mean? I was doing my little thing there.
Okay.
And then I got into soccer, and then kickboxing. And then the dancing happened. The fighting I've kind of still done as the years have gone on. And I think that's probably one of my main interests.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, my dad was just like, okay, when he died, the gymnastics stops because he was pushing that. And I think it got a bit expensive. And my mother was like, why are we even doing this? But for him, he was just like, play golf. There's money in golf. But I was like, okay, but if I don't have the card, then I'm not going.
Yeah.
And that was kind of
I'm not going to walk.
No, why?
This golf.
As you were saying that, I think we've got Sia. He's a jiu-jitsu man.
Yeah?
Like he's like there.
Okay.
Yeah,
He
so-
says jujitsu and you're like,
he's like, I don't know what the difference. I don't know what the difference is. I don't know what the difference. For me, everything is
I
karate.
put lungs in a lot. No, man. So for me, I started kickboxing maybe in my early teens. My cousins used to fight. So I grew up with 2 of my male cousins who were like my besties. We were a lot closer in age. So everything they did, I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I started at a place called Shiruken, which was a kickboxing dojo in Durban.
Nice.
And over the last couple of years, from Bangkok to Thailand, like Muay Thai has just been part of my journey. I boxed for a bit, but it puts too much pressure on my wrists, considering I stand on my wrists for a living. And then, just fighting in the streets when I get a chance.
Don't mess with her. Don't mess with Courtney.
They're probably like, they never stop.
Because where does Bollywood then fit into this whole thing? Because we also read like you were in a Bollywood film or movie.
I was rocking. So, okay. So, it's like, let's say 2012, 2013.
Okay.
I'm fresh off the church circuit now.
Yeah.
I'm looking for jobs.
Yeah.
I see in the newspaper. So by this point, like I kind of backup dance for a local artist and like I'm kind of finding my way. But bearing in mind, my dancing at this point is just a couple of my gymnastic tricks to music.
Okay.
Like that's the height of my dancing.
Yeah.
So we see in the paper the one day there's this audition for a Bollywood show at the Playhouse.
Yeah.
And I say to my mother, I want to go. Because they were like, we're looking for speciality acts.
Yes.
I'm like, amazing, I can do a handstand.
Yeah. Easy. Let's
Like,
go.
I've always been extremely delusional. Like,
Yeah.
that's the only way I'm going to get through, right?
Yeah.
So she takes me to the audition. I do my little thing. They are like, incredible.
Wow.
We
Yeah.
want you. You're going to get a solo. I'm like, yes! And then they're like, but also, you're going to dance Bollywood. I'm like, whoa. What does this mean? But so I've got to learn all the routines.
Yeah.
I've got to dance it barefoot. I've got to sing all the words.
Yeah. In Hindi.
Hindi through and through. But what I don't say at this point is that I actually grew up loving those Bollywood movies.
Okay.
Man. Like that
Okay.
SABC2. Like
Yes.
Like I won't lie, it's been a guilty pleasure of mine like my whole life. And
Yeah.
again, maybe this was like
Build up,
where the music and the dancing like later comes into play. I didn't realize I love that. So much so that like my dad would eventually record over all my Indian movies because he's like, we can't even film the games. Like, you know, the VCR. Hey, I remember all my shows I'd be writing like Broken Promises and then now it's just soccer. So I always had, and when I look back, funny enough, now I'm at a stage where I go like, who's my ancestors? Like, where do And my grandfather, his forefathers were Nepalese. And that makes perfect sense to me because they're on the border of China and India. And I'm like, I've always been a weird Asian, like Chinese fighting Indian. You know what I mean? So it's a look at everything that I genuinely enjoy, and people are like, oh, but how could you like Bollywood? I'm like, I love that shit, man. You know? Like, I want to come from behind a tree just, you know.
For dramatic
For dramatic
My father would always be like, these people are walking in the mall, next thing they're in the middle of a desert. I'm like,
It's funny.
So that's how it started, man. So I get put into the show. I'm choreographing the hip hop stuff. That's my first professional gig. I'm 15. I'm in all the pamphlets. It's a massive show at Suncoast Casino. At that point, I'm earning $2,500 for 10 shows, months of rehearsals that you go to every day, 4 hours at a time.
$2,500.
My mother goes, this is not even enough to cover the petrol.
No way.
You know, but if my child wants this, we're going to go.
Yeah.
At the time, I thought I was rich. I didn't give a damn. I thought maybe the petrol is just, it's for you to figure out. That's
not for
my
me.
No, I'm busy earning here. So, and honestly, that was like such a big moment in my career. Again, completely trialing and erroring through everything I was doing. We go into a season 2 of that show. It comes to Joburg. We do the Rand show. Or is it the Rand show?
Rand Easter.
And that was my first introduction to production.
Nice.
And I've always been that person. Like, okay, cool, a show, but like, what does the lighting and the sound look like? How do we introduce it? And that's looking at my career now, how I kind of fast-tracked the next couple of my years. So Bollywood,
it's just
part of the
I'm always interested when it comes to, I mean, I was a cricketer, so it's pretty simple, the structure. When you have a life where you're doing alternative sports, an alternative career type of situation where it's always not, let's say, it's not always recognized, or the path is not always clear.
100%.
How do you go then? First of all, convince your mom this is the route that I'm going in, because she's like, what is this? You know, I'm pretty sure that's the question she was asking.
I don't think it's a thing of like, let me convince them today. I think it was a constant fight. And I always say, like, the most proud I think I've ever heard my mother. Like, if you go through the things I've achieved in my life, there's been some really cool things.
Yes.
The thing that's made her the proudest was the day I was the Y on YoTV.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, like, that is cool. I won't lie, that's cool.
Dude, I've choreographed openings and welcomes for Richard Branson. I've done the Little Waynes, the Fat Man Scoops, I have done a lot. DSTV, Channel O's. I've worked with almost every artist in this country. I've worked with many international artists. Like, I've done a lot.
Please, where's the horn? Where's the horn? We need the horn. I mean,
okay, cool. However, what I'm saying is, my mother does not give a damn. The thing that excited her the most, I think they still have it. Like, in the beginning of YoTV, it's like, why? Oh, see? And there's breakers. And there's someone going, why? And there's somebody going, oh. And I'm doing the why on my hands with my legs open. My mother was running through her office like, you don't know who. I'm like, oh. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, it was a journey, because when fresh out of school, I was gigging. I'm doing club gigs. I'm not allowed to drive, but I'm stealing the car. I'm taking dancers to clubs. Like, I was always that person. Like, I will kick every door open. I will ask, can we do this? They're like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. Just give us a chance. And she was always like, this is a waste of time, but make sure you're studying. That was the conversation. Like, if you're going to be dancing, fine, but make sure you're studying. So right up until when I moved to Joburg, I was still studying a BCom with UNISA, but I was always paying for it and like just hustling in my way until like I got an opportunity to dance at the summers, and then it would have been the same week as my accounting exam. And I was like, I'm going to fail this thing anyway. Like,
no brainer. Like, it's chalk and cheese.
And I remember I called her, and I think that was a big defining moment, because every time I was studying, but obviously when you're doing correspondence and I'm gigging and I'm blah, 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 it's a lot, man. And I remember I called her and I just said, like, this is an opportunity. And she just said, what do you, like, I trust you to make the right decision, man. And that was the first time I think we were both finally on the same page. And ever since then, I never looked back. I threw those UNISA books out the moving car.
We're going to the summers, baby. We're going to the
That was it.
summers.
So for me, it wasn't a moment of convincing it. I had to prove it every step of the way.
Yeah.
I think even now they're still like, what does she do?
What does she actually do for a living?
Like in the beginning, I used to like if I phoned one of my cousins or my aunt, they'd be like, "Do you need airtime?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like I was always fighting for my life, you know.
Yeah.
My aunt would be like, "Do you have food this week? I'm sending you money for like peanut butter." I'm like, "Amazing, appreciate."
Yeah.
Like I was just doing the thing, man. And I think because I believed in it so much, they were just like, "Yo, let's support her."
Yeah.
Like even if they didn't understand it.
Yeah.
So is that a chapter now that's fully closed, the BCom accounting chapter, and you've left that behind, or is that something maybe
I won't
that's
lie, it's giving me an
lingers?
edge in what I do.
Yeah.
Okay, it really has. Even though I don't have the paperwork to prove it, I think I must just print my own degree.
Yeah.
And just,
Yeah.
There's
You
a
know
doctor
what I
in
mean?
South Africa.
I know someone.
people are doing
I
it.
know someone. Don't worry.
People are doing it. But I think maybe at a later stage in my life, I might go back. But when I look at what I do now, like, what am I going to do with that? Like, in all honesty, what am I going to do with it? Like, I must go there on the stage, like, just before the battle, like, you know, just
They must
before
make
the-
sure. They
This
must
is a
make sure.
business before you come at me. No.
Is it Will Smith who said, like, for example, people should not have plan Bs?
Yeah.
There should only be plan A.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you like,
I'm a plan
Yeah.
A type.
Yeah.
Depending on the situation, like in terms of my life, it's plan A.
Yeah.
In terms of how I
100%,
get there,
120%?
I've got
Yeah.
multiple like
Okay.
ways to get
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
For
yeah.
me, the goal is not negotiable.
Yeah.
But how I get there,
Wow.
no problem. If I've got to swim, I've got to jump over that
Yeah,
thing. If I'm
yeah.
driving, training, no problem.
Yeah.
I
So
guess
if
that's
it's gonna
where
take me 1 year or 10 years, no
Yeah.
problem. But I'm going there.
this is where the gymnastics, soccer,
All
jumping
come in.
over, all come in.
All come in.
Exactly. They were just like trials and tribulations, you know.
Yeah.
What
Yeah, man.
fuels your creativity, Courtney? I mean, you've done a lot creatively. I mean, since you were very young, going to gymnastics, that's creative on its own. So, what fuels like being creative? What is the fuel behind your creativeness?
I actually hate that question.
Really?
Yeah, because I feel like when you
Damn,
ask, like,
I thought that was a great question.
good one for you.
I'm like,
Inspiration. Where does inspiration come from?
I thought about this question all night.
Well done. But this is why I hate that question.
Okay, yes.
Because it's like the first thing people want to ask me, and I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have the answer. Like, I genuinely don't. I think
Yeah.
it's just who I am.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm sitting here long enough, like my brain, that's just how I'm wired. Like my brain starts, that's why I was like, what room is this? You know what I mean? Like I take in everything around me and it just starts fueling things and conversations and
Yeah.
ideas. And I've always been like that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm not somebody that's like, I'm just so inspired by,
Yes.
you know, the way the wind through my, and then the ideas. Like,
It's not
that's
like
not
that, yeah.
how it happens for me. I think when you grow up in such an like a eclectic way of life, you just learn to take in from everything around you. And that's why for me, that's what my inspiration is. It's just like everything, man.
Yeah.
I don't have like never had formal training. I never went through, like you're saying, a structured way of
Yeah.
life. So for me, my life has always been a mess. And that's kind of like
Brought it
where
all
I
together.
take the inspiration from, yeah.
I don't
like
even
that.
know what
Is
to
it
follow
crying or
up
what?
after that. It's so touching when
Well, I
you
answered your
say.
question.
Yeah, but it is
Yeah.
true. Right? It is true.
Yeah. Because it's like if you said you play cricket, it's like me saying, where do you like get
No,
your,
do that-
where do you get your sportiness from? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And you're like,
no, do
well,
you know,
like,
I think to know where it comes from, because again in South Africa, everything is pushed towards
Mainstream.
teams, mainstream, and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I think it's always fascinating for us to, because you doing this every day, and I'm sure someone else in the US, in
Yeah.
India, wherever in the world, are also trying to be outsmarting you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's almost like
I mean, I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
They're probably like, who? I'm
Yeah.
Like, no, you know.
So it's
know
like,
who I am.
how do you keep like being one up on, because
Oh, I see,
like
okay.
because it's just like in cricket you prepare, yes, you watch the other stuff, but like it kind of is always the same.
So then let me ask you this. How, when you start cricket today, if it's always the same and you bat this way and you bowl that way and you catch, how do you get better within those things?
And you refine them. Like
So
every
obviously,
day
yeah.
is a different
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
practice
So
session.
same thing
Yeah.
most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we're talking like just strictly moves, okay,
Yeah.
cool. I can, like there was a video I saw 2 days ago where it said, I think he was showing like flips, like a back flip into
Yeah.
something, And he showed 4 years ago and he showed today. And he said, same move, but like the technique is worlds apart.
Yeah.
I can teach you how to do a handstand today. Are you going to look like me? No. You could teach me how to hit a bloody ball today. Am I going to look like you? No.
Yeah.
So I think it's that refining over years that comes with the time put in. And breaking is such an unforgiving dance in sport.
Yeah.
You're going to 100% get out what you put in. Like it's not, you don't wake up today and just be like, yeah, let me spin on my head and land on my ear. That's not how that thing works, you know?
Yeah.
But in terms of the way I think my business and my brand works, I'm a very like, I told you I'm delusional, man.
Big dreamer.
So like you said, because there's no structure in place, it's a good thing and a bad thing because I get to create it as a brand. So I feel like when I'm done with this, we'll have a solid blueprint in place.
Yeah.
So that's a great thing, but the hard thing is that there is no plan in place.
Yeah,
so 9 out of 10 times I'm just like trying my luck.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's just because of the person I am, where I'm gonna try. Thank God that I'm not like a meek and mild.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, oh no,
I can't do this.
I can't because then we're gonna have to wait for the next person that's able to do that, you know? So I by no means think I'm the best dancer, best whatever. However, I do think I'm forward enough.
Yeah.
You know, to like just try.
And for those who don't know what forward means.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Hey, the Durbanites is showing. So it just means like, not backward. I don't know how to explain forward. You're just like daring to try, man. And I'm not scared to fail. I think again, when you come from a place of start at the bottom anyway. Like, where am I gonna go? Under the ground? No. Like, if I fell, okay, sharp. And I think that's been the saving grace for me in a sense where I go, like I remember over the last 2 years I had like some hectic losses like competitively, and they were killing me mentally for like the first week, and then the next week happened and I'm like, nothing changed in my life, you know. So that's the thing for me, is learning as I go, to stop also making mountains out of molehills, you know. And if I want to make something a big thing, let me try. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
There was I don't know, it's a meme, Jeff. I'm slightly getting on the older side now, so I think I don't always know.
Hey, you are.
You know,
2006, you know, people were those moves. How like in
what
terms?
Move?
We were going there.
He tried.
In terms of like what it puts on your body, though. I mean, you've been doing this like for a long time.
13 years now, isn't it?
If not longer, like dancing for a very, very long time. I mean, I'm lying. I'm 32 now.
Yeah.
Almost said
20.
23. Jesus.
Who do you tell 23 to?
Myself. You know, in the morning you wake up, you're like, you're 23. Like, no, I'm 32 now, man. So I think, I mean, initially that first church step was 11 or 12. And 15 years ago would have been my first professional gig. So it's been years, but I would say the breaking has come and gone, but now staying competitively since lockdown, because that's really when I got back into it and the platforms opened up. But the wear and tear on your body is, I don't think people understand, man. It's insane. Like 2 years ago, I competed with a broken foot, like a broken foot a month and a half before defending my first Rebel BC1 title. Like, still got on the stage. Like, it's here. Like, even this year I competed with a sprained toe, buggered wrist. Like, it's just, I long for the day I wake up and I'm like, yay!
I'm sharp.
Isn't it?
And what is, and how do you then manage that recovery process? Is it, can you afford to be, I'm chilling for a month because
no way! Oh my God. If you're sitting for, like, I just came back from like a really hectic OQS season, so the Olympic qualifier season. So I would say the most strenuous stuff besides the training is the traveling. I'd like to sit on that plane. I mean, firstly, we are on the other end of the world. Like, to get anywhere is a nightmare, man. And I think it puts me off so much because physically what my body goes through on that plane. Like, I struggle with my lower back a lot, so that just sitting, like, somebody needs to start flying me business. Like, I've had it. Or let me fly the plane. Like, please, where's Gaten? This is a message.
You see, there we are.
Don't try one side, Courtnaé Paul, other. Like, it's really a lot, man, because then you expect to get there and start competing, like just, you know, off the bat.
plane.
And you're competing with people who've been on a train for an hour, who are traveling with their physio, traveling with their manager, they this, they that, and you just there by yourself carrying a bag, like hoping for the best with your flag in your pocket. Like, it's a lot, man. So for me, it's about trying to be smart about the training. How do I maximize what I'm doing in a shorter period of time? Before I used to train for long hours, and I was like, okay, this is not sustainable at all. Because even if you've got the energy, there's only so much your body can go through. So now it's just trying to put a plan in place that I never really stick to it because my schedule changes so much. So it's the chiro, it's the physio, it's the sports therapy, it's the whatever, but it's maintenance. Like my chiro always says to me, like, we're never going to get you back to 100%. Like, and that's that. So now we just try and maintain you as best as we can.
And I mean, you've mentioned quite a lot there as well. You mentioned other people have teams. You by yourself. Who manages your traveling, your, car stuff, logistical stuff, like the finances of this whole thing?
One man jive.
I must do everything, dude. And I can't explain to you. People think it's like such a, it's not that, yay, it's a movie. I'll never forget my first qualifier we went to, I think, was Japan maybe 2 years ago. You walk into, it's in a stadium. Like, I've never seen breaking in that way before. So that alone, I'm like shocked. What the hell? We fly, I don't know how long, we get there 10 p.m. the night before. We're trying to check in. We need to be on stage 10 o'clock the next morning. Okay? Fine, no problem, I guess. We're walking around, hurry up and wait vibes. I see there's like a crafts table. I'm like, amazing. I tell the guy that we're traveling with, like, let's go, the other b-boy, like, let's go get some coffee. I walk up to the table. I'm like, hi, please, can I have 2 coffees? They're like, no. So I'm like, why? like, ready to fight now? He's like, no, Team Japan only.
Wow.
I'm like, whoa. And that was the first time I realized these guys travel 10, 15, sometimes 20-man team. Everything is sorted. When, even now, I remember the day I landed in Shanghai, I'm waiting at the desk, there's like 10 people in front of me. I'm like, one guy, I'm just trying to check in. And I'm paying for my hotel, I'm doing all these things. There's just a guy standing with the Ukrainian team, standing with like a flip file thing, and he's marking off all the dancers and their rooms as he's giving them their keys. And then he's like, I want to pay for this now. I needed a receipt. I got to send it to the federation.
Wow.
I'm like, whoa, okay. Yeah, I also needed a receipt. I'm going to send it to myself. And it's a movie. It's a lot, man. Like, also, for example, they have like technical meetings that aren't for athletes. Who's going there?
You have to go.
You need people that are like, so what happens is a lot of the time other athletes and their coaches, because they know me, they're like, don't, if you need anything, we got you. We're going to send you the info. But also crap, man. It's like I'm competing against these people. So it's really been challenging. I've had to really either want it or leave it alone completely. So I mean, I remember the federation this year and last year gave us like a little bit of funding, like last minute after one of our trips. It wasn't even enough to cover one flight. So I was like, can you rather... I appreciate it, don't get me wrong. But I'm like, yes, sis.
What am I going to do?
So now when we've got a new minister now, who's basically straight out of the bat kind of mentioned, I'm going to push for spinning to be a recognized sport. Does that give you comfort, maybe the way he's thinking that maybe start including, let's say, the alternative?
He told me I must start spinning.
I like it.
In the car. I must get in the car.
No, man, I really loved it. I actually tweeted him, I think last week, and then everybody started retweeting it and he followed me back. I was like, amazing. Because, again, nobody's seen the non-traditional sports, I guess, and the work that we've been pushing over the last 4 years. I can tell you, like, the impact that we've made. In the last year, I've had everybody from the BBCs, the CNNs, like, come for me, do profiles, Olympics.com, multiple profiles. And then you come home, and you can, like, I'm like, hey, guys, do we have any kit? You can order from this guy to get your, South African tracksuit. It's 1.8. It's this. I'm like, like this last trip was the first time we actually got gear, and I think it was kind of by mistake.
Why mistake?
Yeah, it's a story. But anyway, my point is just like you're either doing this thing because like you physically want to do it. I remember there was another b-boy that made it into the team last year sometime. He sent me a message. He's like, how does this work? How do we go about getting sponsors? I thought the moment I get into the team, like, it's just sorted. I'm like, hey,
bro.
I wish, I don't know, it's almost harder, because now you suddenly got non-existent rules that you need to play by. So yeah, I love that he's thinking like that. Funny enough, after I tweeted, a guy says to me, it must be nice to have one of your own in power here. I'm like, one colored guy just comes and says something.
There's always one.
There's always
social media.
I said, maybe. I said, I'm waiting to find out. But I like the way he's thinking. I think he's very excited. Which is like, he's super excited. And I would rather that guy have the job than somebody who feels they're doing us a favor.
Yeah.
I think we've completely misconstrued what ministers and all these positions are supposed to be doing. And I hope we can bring more change, man. I like that. I saw yesterday or something you requested. You want to see where all the payments are
Yes.
going.
All of a sudden, it's full of wise. It's full of wise. Who's been getting paid? But apparently, straight away, that was like, that's not going to happen.
Damn. Well, we like that. We like that.
The thinking is in the right place.
I like it. Why not be transparent?
Exactly.
Like, genuine question. If money is like, maybe it's not public money, or I don't know the ins and outs.
Yeah.
But as like a complete, I'm like a person, normal person in the public.
Yeah.
Why would that be a problem?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you want to show like, this is where our funds went to for the year? If it's meant for sports, arts, culture.
Yeah.
Like,
So
what's the
people
problem?
that benefit, that find it as a problem.
Yeah.
Because they want to benefit in
Even
private. In public funding. I'm going to add one more for me.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pilar. Again, when it comes to now, if you had to have a dream of how would South Africa now, in terms of how we recognize all these, how would that look like in terms of, you know, rugby, cricket, soccer, funding is always unbelievable.
Yeah.
But we still find the hockeys, they still need to fundraise to get there. Like, how do you envisage that, like, you know, getting better or improving so that we can start sending teams to Olympics that are fully funded, they have kits, don't have to worry about, you know.
I think with that, like, once you get into the Olympics, it seems like everything gets sorted thereafter.
Yeah.
But how are we supposed to get there?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I came really close with this qualifier. And I felt I did enough. In fact, I think I did more than I should have. But we're at such a disadvantage from an African lens where we only had one qualifier over 4 years. And one spot.
Yeah.
Which is like the whole of Africa. We're bigger than all of them in terms of like pure mass.
Yeah.
So Europe was having 4 to 6 qualifiers a year, blah, blah, blah. Not once did any of them have to come to the continent, right? So that's funds out of our pockets.
Yep.
It's the travel. It's a lot, man.
Yeah.
And you're competing against first world countries that never had to come here. So if you're just showing up and you're earning more points than me, I'm never going to compete with you, right? Then also with breaking, the only way you get better in competition is doing competitions.
Yeah.
I can compete here every weekend, but the level is not high enough. So I need to compete overseas to constantly get like the experience, if you will. So then my question goes, and funny enough, I had a conversation with someone from the SA hockey team who's now going to the Olympics for the second time. She was telling me how much money they had to pull out of their own pockets and how when she comes home, she needs to find a job. I'm like, that is mind-blowing to me, dude.
Representing a country.
It's mind-blowing to me. Like you... Isn't that what we're supposed to celebrate? I'm very confused. Yeah. And again, I'm still new to the whole sports thing, but a lot of it just doesn't make sense to me. And I think the biggest difference when we look at the rugbies and the soccers is that from grassroots, there's things in place that usher you from that kid to blah, blah, blah. You know, you go straight out of playing high school into college, into whatever.
Provincials.
Yeah, level, there's this thing in place, a system in place, whereas with breaking, the first thing for me is that breakers need to take this more seriously.
Yeah.
But then the catch to that is, how do they do that when you've got people who need to work full-time jobs and still train after? And I did that for a very long time. In fact, I still juggle a lot of that. A lot of all the other stuff that I do in life, people are like, it's cool. I'm like, that's my job.
Yeah.
And that's how I earn money to be able to blow it down the drain, to go get my ass handed to me there in Shanghai. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, it boils down to like, how badly do you want this thing, man? Everybody's got their own mountains to climb, but are you going to make the time? Like people go like, I don't have time for this. Okay, do you sit on your phone at all in the day? Are you watching series at all in the day? Just make even half an hour of your time. So I would say the structures need to come into place where we are formalizing these things. Dance schools that filter into like actual elite training and people that understand the system in order to get breakers to level up. That's what I think.
There were 16 spots to qualify for the Olympics. You just missed out on that.
So this is how it works, right? They do 5 continentals, which is fine. So they take those 5, and then what is it? 11 slots remaining. So there should have been 3 universalities.
Okay.
Which means they've given 1 universality to a refugee team. This girl, I think, is pretty new to breaking. She gets a straight pass. I think she was from Afghanistan, moved to Spain, and they applied for it as a country. Or I'm not sure like the complete workings, but she'll go through. Hasn't done a qualifier, but she'll go through. So we were under the impression, like, surely they have to give one more slot to the continent. Like, they have to. We are so heavily underrepresented, like, they have to give the slot. So my main goal was in OQS. So OQS is the last top 40 in the world.
Yeah.
You go earn your points and you get into OQS. Yeah. You are fighting people who have been doing this since.
Yeah. For years.
And the biggest thing is their parents were breakers. They grew up in this generational wealth.
Yes.
Like, if I had a cricketer of a child, only so much I'm like, hey, you swing this way, and then Makaya said you spin that, you know. But if I had a breaker for a kid, I will teach that child things that you would never be able to do based on my experience within the culture.
Absolutely.
So you're battling people who come from generational wealth in this thing. So then OQS takes top 7. And then those 3 universality slots. So I was like, okay, all I need to do is come top of the continent, and we're surely going to get the slot. Even the federation was like, keep pushing for this. Okay, fine, Shanghai, I get top of the continent, but I'm so sick, like, I don't make the next round. I'm like, damn, but I got where I needed to. Budapest, I come out swinging. I take out a couple Europeans top of the continent across male and female categories. I'm like, yo,
this is it.
Like, surely, like, I left there so happy, man. And either way, I was like, I did everything I could. Come home, federations, like, let's wait and see. We are still waiting and seeing that the Olympics is going to be on TV now. I'm going to be sitting at home saying, maybe they're going to call me still. They're going to be handing out medals, and I'm going to say, maybe they're going to call me. So, it's been a tricky one, but I think I'm really happy with it. I performed better than I thought I would. I jumped through way too many hoops, but the most important thing was I made an impact. And I think that's what that's all I can ask for. Like, showing like, yo, we're here as a continent, and we're going to be part of the conversation no matter how much you try and close the door on us, you know? Because if you're not there with your federation, shaking hands, showing you part of this thing, then you can forget it, man.
It's tough.
Like when we went to Morocco for the Continental, only 12 countries made it, firstly, out of the continent.
Of 50-something
countries. 53, 54. 12 made it. We got our brackets 2 o'clock in the morning on Instagram on Saturday, the day we were competing. I'm like, wow. I get a French girl in my first round. She's not African. It's an African qualifier. She beats me, apparently. We were all very confused by it. Fine. I think she gets disqualified months later because you don't have an African passport or whatever the case is. I'm like, then where's my money also? Because there's a lot of things that come in. I would have loved to win that event. Like, I think... Anyway. There was a lot that happened there. My point was, like, people were getting told you can't enter because registration closed 2 weeks prior. The same French girl, they registered the day before. She's going under Algeria. So again, if you don't have a federation that's there fighting, having conversations, can forget it. So many of the guys that were traveling from around Africa were just like heartbroken, man. They didn't they get into a prelim, they get completely sidelined. Like, there's actually a video that one of the guys did. All the African breakers are outside the venue, like, having a party, man. But like, the event is inside, and they're like, "This is where Africa is." I almost cried because I was like,
the actual event.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, man!" Like, this was their chance. And not there. This was our chance. Like, I'm not discrediting the Moroccan breakers, but it just felt a little. Man. Like, there was a girl that beat me in the prelim. I came third in the prelim. So the girl that eventually won came first in the prelim, and a girl that came second in the prelim, and I came third. She came second to last in OQS every time. And I was like, how did we judge this? And it's not being funny, but when you sit back and like, you're just like, whoa, what happened?
So many questions.
There's a lot of questions, and there's nothing I can do about it now. I just know that I'm more prepared and equipped to go into this for the next round, I guess.
My question then is systematically, how do we improve that? Is it for example, talking about slots, is it South African Federation being really involved in saying we want to change this with the rest of the African unions, or how does it, because you can't surely not being represented as a continent when it comes to
global events.
So the thing is, like, a lot of the countries don't even have federations, so that's the first issue. There was a beagle from Togo who got an invite to OQS on universality because they don't have a federation. So again, how are we going to play on this global field when we don't even have the structures in place? So how it kind of came together, I think, when the Olympics was like, hey, breaking, whatever, then dance sport, World Federation of Dance Sport was like, okay, cool, we're going to take breaking in. There wasn't structures in place that I think dance sport understood from a breaking lens.
Yeah.
And what should have really happened was breakers had their own thing. And then if they needed to form under dance sport, no problem.
Yeah.
But like I was doing an interview on Sunday and I'm sitting with a guy who's like used to be head of the swimming something. And my whole thing to him was, imagine I was trying to run that federation.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
Yeah.
Like how long are you holding your breath long enough? Maybe that's why we're losing. Like,
Kick.
you know? So that's my thing. Like, it's not that breaking events haven't existed. Breaking at its core is competition.
Yeah.
Whether it's on a stage, on the cardboard box, on the carpet, that thing is to humiliate your opponent.
Yeah.
So the competition has existed, right? So now we go to like a massive stage, and when you look at battles that exist, whether they're Notorious IBE, Outbreak in Europe, the Red Bull BC one, these things exist. That format exists.
Yeah.
It's not the first time.
Yeah.
So get the people in that know how to run that thing. I think 16 is a very tall order for like the world. They should have done it at 32.
Yeah.
Because when you look at, I don't know like the exact numbers, but hockey, how many teams go?
It's quite a number.
There's like a lot.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
more.
the sports, you go with your country and whatever. Here
Yeah.
you can be top of the continent and still see flames. So it's a very interesting one.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know if we're going to the next Olympic Games.
Yeah.
Doesn't look good for us. Hopefully we can make it shake at these games.
Yeah.
And then
Make
they
it
go.
shake.
And it blows my mind because the 28 games are in LA, right?
Yeah.
And breaking is from there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like we had the chance to do the Olympics and then we don't put the Amapiano games. It's like,
At least we can have a gold medal. It's a guaranteed gold
so
medal.
it confuses me why they wouldn't do it, but I think we don't have the money behind it
Yeah.
because they cut out a lot of sponsors very early on and they try to get greedy and blah, 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 and they cut it. Like even in this last qualifier, we weren't allowed to post our rounds
At
from
all.
the venue, like weird stuff. Because of licensing, I'm like, but this is my phone. They're like, no. Then everybody's posting. I'm like, you see now.
Yeah.
So you'll come for us. Like the
But-
small people who are just like, pass, please. We just want to post our clips. Like,
But the,
you know, but they're all
bigger
posting your
people,
stuff, you know. So that's why I say it's a very weird, elitist type of thing.
Yeah.
And you need to have people in front that are willing to sacrifice personal funds, I guess. But also, that being said, not everybody has those. But like, you'd be delusional to think that everybody can just go gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
How competitive is breaking? I mean, like,
Jesus.
I know from like it's a subculture of like hip hop, and hip hop is very competitive.
Can I ask you guys what you think hip hop is?
I consider myself somewhat of an expert. But hip hop encompasses so many things, you know.
Yeah.
There's the music element, there's the dance element, there's the sporting element, which is your basketball. There's the DJing element of it that all brings the culture of hip hop together into one thing. And obviously there's subcultures within hip hop.
You're not gonna get an answer from me because I've got. You're not gonna get it.
Wait, I tell you why I asked you that, man.
Yeah.
I'll let you off the hook this time. But then, like, why I asked is because what I find interesting is whenever people speak hip hop, globally, but like here specifically, it's always like the music, man, the music. And yes, it's a very important thing. When you think hip hop and how it was born, first came the DJ. And then came the breaker. What people don't understand is that the MC came dead last. And actually the show was not about him. He used to be the guy that had to hype people on the floor, hype the DJ. It was not about the MC. The way things have commercially moved is like when you say hip hop, you immediately think of the rapper. Breaking was the first and original dance of hip hop, and it came straight after the DJ. So when people think of breaking, they go like, "Oh, it was like, it's like a thing of hip hop, eh?" Like it's one
the
of
fundamentals.
The main pillars. It's like it's the DJ, it's the breaker, it's the graffiti artist, it's the MC, and then there's the knowledge element, which is why I want to have that conversation. Like hip hop as a whole is a culture, it's a way of life, it's like all these things. But breaking is such an important element of it because when you think of where hip hop come from and the like struggle element of it, breaking was there because instead of us killing each other,
we'll battle it out.
We'll show it out there and see who's better than who. So that's why when people have this chat of like, it's hip hop, it's a culture, it's not a sport, I'm like, sharp, but two things can be true. How is this not a sport? I train like an athlete. I eat like an athlete. I recover, blah, 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 blah. I'm injured like one. And like I always love when I see Sia run onto the field. because I think of my chiropractor. She's always just like, how much more tape does he want to wear? Like, because he's falling apart. And when I'm walking around the house at home, like, I can barely make it up the stairs. I'm like, And I said to my chiro, like, surely as an athlete, I'm supposed to be the one walking around. She's like, no, you guys are the most damaged people ever.
Yeah.
She's like, I never have athletes walking in here normally. Like, they're crawling in here. For you to get to the fridge, you'll blow your back out, but you'll get on stage and do whatever. So for me, it's very important for people to understand that from the beginning, when people started battling, like, what is a battle? Battle's not like, hey, my brother, how are you?
Just do it.
We're battling, man. If that's not a competition, then I really don't know what
You
it
must
is.
say next time on the stage, this is for South Africa.
Yeah. Hulle weet nie wat ons weet nie. Come on, Courtney.
I asked them, can I have like an intro song? They're like, it's not about you. I'm like, why? You know? But it's coming. I think it'll be very cool. Like, I really, I want them to know that we're around, man. You know, and that we're doing our thing.
Yeah, the money aspect is always going to be like an issue. Yeah, you know, I mean, we were speaking about it like before we started recording about how difficult it is to make a living from breaking. I mean, how does that look for Courtnaé Paul?
I think for me a little different because breaking is not the only thing that I do.
Yeah.
And I think it's not the only thing that I do because I wouldn't be able to afford just doing it, which is why for many years I stopped breaking competitively. The platforms didn't exist and there was just no way for me to make a living. Like, it's all fun and games to be cute on stage. You know, then you come home, there's just one piece of bread there, the lights are, you know what I mean? So it's like, you need to grow up, man. So for me, it's a thing of, you need to continuously have multiple income streams. I think that's very important because as an entertainer in this country, you can see there's shows getting cancelled on TV every day because people aren't getting paid. So even when you have that like one staple job, sometimes it's not enough. So I mean, I DJ, I do various campaigns. Obviously my dancing brings in different kinds of money. For example, last week I did a Netflix thing where I was teaching people in the audience how to dance. Like, it just, you need to think out the box about it. Build your brand. It's extremely important because when I can't get on stage, still need to be making money. You know, working with brands like, I'm not a billboard. I don't just work with brands like randomly. There's a lot of work I say no to. But if a brand aligns with me, then I must be locked in holistically. I like that. Like, can you cover me from dance, music? Like, and when I'm not on stage, can you cover me when I'm just having a conversation? People want to buy into who you are as a person. Being good is part and parcel, right? So make sure that you're worth yourself. But also, like, think outside of the box, man.
Be good.
It's important. Like, not just having a big mouth I can't go on stage and be like, I'm better than you. Okay, show me. No, but I am. Like, show me, man. So, and you were talking about the hype thing. Like, all these things play a role. Like, yes, it's very hard for us, but how are you using what you have? You know, make the most of what you have. I can compare myself to athletes overseas and go, they have this, and they do. But am I going to cry about it? Or am I going to use what I have? You know?
She's on the cover of Hype, by the way. If you don't know what Hype is, Ben 10 pounds. Ben 10 pounds. If you don't know what Hype, look at Nono looking at me. He's like, I don't know what it is.
Is that a cricket magazine? No, man, and it's such a big one for me. Like, for them as a platform, again, I told you my first feature in Hype was 2012. Hype was like my way to digest South African hip hop from Durban. I had no idea all these things were going on. And to have platforms like that see you, specifically as a female of color in this industry, and then as a B-girl, and to go, actually, let's do this piece and do, like, we're also doing a masterclass on their YouTube and blah, blah, blah. But then to also go, let's get you on the cover. It's going to take bold moves like that for people to start seeing the industry and seeing us as, like, viable commodities, I guess, you know? Because otherwise they just see you as like, you're dancing on the
cool shop,
the cardboard outside, like, what do you bring? Like, no, we actual, like, humans, we intelligent, we've got plans, we can make things move, we can move a needle, you know? So part and parcel of this hip-hop conversation, I guess.
Last one for me. I mean, you say you make reference a lot to Durban, like, that's where you're from, grew up, but, like, you had to move from there. Why? And how was that move? Were there any struggles along the road? Was it, did you come here? You thought,
what road? Who said I even was on a road? I was there on the dusty side. Like, no, man, like, I love Durban. Like, I think people think when you move away from home, that, and I see it with the trickers in Israel and the Sanya conversation. Hey, not a real African, you live in Australia. Guys, sometimes you gotta bounce. Like, the dreams I had for myself, I wouldn't have been able to see them through in Durban. Like, by the time I reached 20, I had done every ICC, Sweet 16, 18th, 21st, Granny's 60th. Like, I had done every club. I had done every casino from Sugar Mill to Golden Horse. I am that person. I will leave no stone unturned. So I'm very self-aware that, okay, next, like, how do I level up here?
Yeah.
And for me, that was, let me go throw myself into the industry. I'm completely unprepared. I'm like the worst dancer here. I don't look like them. I don't dress like them. They're not going to book me to dance in the club. Like, what am I even doing? However, this is where my next step is. Yeah. So I'm very proud of where I come from. It wasn't easy. Still to this day, like, being a colored from Durban can be a very tricky thing.
Yes.
We like, people sometimes don't even know we exist. So it's like,
there's no Afrikaans.
Nah, woo! Even my Afrikaans teacher was something like, hey guys, I don't know.
She really
like, no, this one I don't know. Hey? Like, it's so funny. My fiance is from East London and they're all Afrikaans. Like, they speak Afrikaans, English, Zulu. And me at Christmas is like... Hey,
it's a Zulu at least.
I can get by. Okay. The Afrikaans are not bad anymore because they speak to me all the time. Yeah. But like, if you speak to my mother, it's like, we used to have a running joke, like, who could get the lowest marks in Afrikaans? Like, that was just because Zulu was too hard to take in school, like, to read and write it. Even the black girls were like, there's no way. Yeah. So we were all there. So we were all there struggling in Afrikaans together. Like, I got 12, I got 7 for the year. You know. so Durban coloreds, I think, we don't fit like the typical. What you think colored to be. Yeah. And colored people in general have to fight that fight. And then when you come from Durban, it's like, if you think of me being female, colored from Durban, I'm gay, I'm a breakdancer. It's like, how many more handicapped? You know when they say, do you want to struggle? And I was like, yes. I'm at the front of the line. Put me in, God. You know, so that's why I'm very proud of where I come from, man. Yeah. Everything we had to go through. And again, it's not to say that everywhere else doesn't have their struggles. But I don't think where I come from gets enough shine and like understanding. I think the most people know about a Durban colored sometimes is like when Blackie puts on a colored accent. They're like, yeah, you know, bro, you know, and everyone's like, oh! You know? So that's why I'm very proud. I'll forever speak about it, but it's not to say that when I moved, I was like, yeah, Durban. That's it. No, it's just I understood where I need to be. Yeah. And the industry is and that's just really what it is. Yeah,
it's funny how he says it because he's moved from Makanda.
Do you even know what it is? Exactly.
Why is that?
They changed the name.
Yeah, Grahamstown.
I was like, is that the movie?
Not Wakanda.
Grahamstown.
We've got people from Cape Town, Eastern Cape. East London. So all of us, we're acting like Joburg is his home.
You have to, and that's why I was saying Java must keep sponsoring me the Zulu sandal because I feel like I'm like a small white Nkabi. Like, I just, and that's the way I take on life.
A light-skinned Nkabi.
Yeah, we have to.
Very light-skinned Nkabi.
Oh my goodness.
You know, like, I honestly feel like that makes such a big part of who I am. Like, growing up in, like, this is where I grew up and Kwamashu was right here. Yeah. So for me, especially when people talk about the Africa, I'm like, I get it, but like, there's a whole other like world that exists of colored people that we also still figuring out ourselves. I don't have all the answers. I'm so different to my mother who grew, like, my mother is white. Like, you see that? My mother will put this thing to shame. Like, and then my dad was brown with a little afro. You know what I mean? So we're still figuring it out. And I think in this country, we get put into a box so easily. And if you don't, like, I love what Losha Cooper says. Every time she gets cast for like a colored role, it's always like the gangster. And I'm like, but
stereotype.
We do like to fight. Okay. But like structured fighting. You know what I mean? Let's get a little 1-2 going. But that's the thing. So I think that's also a big part of my mission is like when I'm on a global stage, I want to change the African narrative. We're not this poor African, like, we don't need your pity. We go through a lot, but like, we've got a lot to show for it. And the same thing to be said when I'm on a national platform, it's like, but my city though, you know.
Tyler is busy fighting that struggle in the US. Like, that's a conversation for a different day.
No, for me, like, she's answered it so many times. And yes, maybe in that moment she could have answered it again. We don't know what the setup was, but I can tell you that no answer was going to make anybody feel any more comfortable. We get the colored conversation there. You need to understand the colored conversation here. And what's weird, and like, you black guys, I assume you can give me this like a little bit of clarity, you know?
Yeah.
On Twitter, I see this a lot. Like, especially now with Gayton, and now suddenly there's a colored person that's making everybody nervous. They go like, but coloreds are so anti-black. They don't want to be black. But let me go anywhere and be like, I'm black. Yeah. No, you're not. You don't know how struggle you're colored. You know these, and even like I see it on every platform. So coloreds this, coloreds that. You see these colors that call you out. This colored behaves like that. These coloreds like to drink. Yeah, some of us do. I don't drink, but you get me. Like it's like those coloreds. And then the moment somebody's like, I'm colored. Oh, she's anti-black. Are you not black? So can somebody explain to me genuinely, like, what is the
hierarchy?
So you see, I'm going to try to explain it when we spoke about rugby, and the importance of like how the Springboks have kind of embraced that, and we're viewing it differently. Yeah. And cricket is currently having that struggle where it's coloured blacks, Indian whites. Yeah. And at the end of the day, like it's just a constant fight of trying to find. So now, for example, in cricket, the policy is you must have 6 players of colour, but 3 of them must be black African. Yeah. Right, on a cricket field. Okay. And then, or you could have 6 black African players on the field. It doesn't need to be 3, for example, right? So now you start having that issue where it's like, why don't we classify as we all went through the same struggle? And it just like doesn't stop. Yeah. And at what point do we continue literally just always dividing ourselves to subsections? Because at the end of the day, I mean, like, we keep saying stronger together, for example, the Springboks. We love that. But like some areas, people are still very much only want those boxes to continue. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but it's just like from my view, from the cricketing side, it's actually getting worse. Yeah. Where people like literally like we coloureds, we blacks, and it's just like, it's
so then
weird.
Maybe a weird one is like, then do only white people get to be white? And everybody else is just one thing.
Fighting for some sort of...
Because this is like when people ask me, my first thing is I'm colored. Yeah. I consider myself under the black umbrella. If that makes sense. It's like if people say, like, what do you do? I don't say, I do hip hop. I say, I'm a breaker. Yeah. And I'm under the hip hop umbrella. If this makes sense. So for me, I'm colored. I'm a person of color. I'm under a black umbrella. Yeah. Like, I in no way think that makes me anti-black or like me saying I'm colored is not saying I'm not black. And maybe that's the Tyler chat. Like, I think I'm more black than a lot of black people, you know, that I've experienced in my day. So it's not about that for me. I think it's just a pride thing of like where I come from as a colored person. Like I say, my best friend was in Kwamashu C-section, but I can tell you we grew up so differently. So differently, just in the culture and the language at home, the experiences she had versus what I had. It's not to say whose was worse or easier, but they were just different. Yeah. Right? You could come, for example, to like a family function of mine and you would completely be like, what the heck? Yeah. Just based on the music we listen to or the things that like make us laugh or whatever. And if I came to you, it would be weird. Yeah. Just from this is different. I've never experienced that. Yeah. So that's why I think sometimes it's a weird thing for me because as coloreds, and I think each race has their thing, but I think we so misunderstood a lot of the time that me saying I'm colored makes you think that I don't want to be black. Yeah. And that I think that's where like the weird
discord is.
Yeah. Because if you can go like I'm supposed to be proud to be black, then why can I not be proud to be colored? Not to the rate of like let me go open Orania. Like, but you know what I mean? Like let me just be proud to be who I am.
Why would the colored version of Orania be though? That's kind of what
let's not go on the
okay, let's not.
Okay, rabbit hole, but you must remember where I'm from. I'd be like, okay, this is Zululand, so what do I don't know.
Where would that be? Which province would that be? Let's bring it closer.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still honest to God, I'm still learning the colored landscape. Yeah. I grew up around black people and Indian people. Yeah. That's why the Durban thing for me is like I need you to understand where I come from. So when you come here, people expect you to know tell us about the gay people. I don't know. Oh yeah. I didn't go to gay school. I didn't go to college school. I'm just one guy. Yeah. Like there's so many like people within the community that I don't agree on their stances. Yeah. Like and again another rabbit hole, but you get me? Yeah. I don't just because now we're in this community together doesn't mean I agree. An expert, so I think we just need to give each other a chance to learn.
And this is like better. I think social media as well. Like two things can also be right at the same time. People like it's almost like has to be either
this or that,
white or black, but like there's sometimes like gray areas and it's okay. Can we just like hear me out?
Yes.
But I think we are about to go on a rabbit.
Yeah. Okay, one
more rebel.
No rebel. Just in closing, Courts. I mean, you missed out Paris 2024.
Yeah.
LA 28. Is that still a realistic goal for you? Is it something?
If they take us,
Yeah.
because apparently we're not admitted as a sport yet.
Yeah.
If we go, no brainer.
Okay.
Absolute no brainer.
Yeah.
Like, and I am swinging for the fence. Like,
Yeah.
I think with this one, again, it's such a new thing. Maybe sometimes I didn't know if I deserved to be there in the first place. Because
Yeah.
again, how dare you?
Yeah.
Like, you're like this weird little colored girl from South Africa. You're breaking. Like what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're traveling to other countries.
Audacious.
You're competing against
Yeah.
massive teams and countries with funding. And like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I think by the end of this like period that just happened, I've never felt more sure. And I've never felt more at home in terms of what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I'm
No
wreaking
brainer.
out-
20
I'm wreaking absolute havoc
Yeah.
now.
I want to hear your take. I mean, for example, sports like cricket going to be in the next Olympics,
Yeah.
right? But like, I mean, as a person that, for me, for example, when I follow the Olympics, it's like you get to see the other sports that you don't generally get to see.
Yeah.
Horse riding, dressage,
Yeah.
and volleyballs,
Yeah.
getting a platform, right? But like, when you say cricket doesn't need that extra platform,
Yeah.
whereas like maybe breaking
yeah.
Yeah.
could use that platform,
Yeah.
the funding that's going to go for that cricket side is maybe could be placed somewhere else.
Yeah.
So like your thoughts on that, where, I mean, they keep bringing in new sports where there's maybe sports that could be looked after better,
Yeah.
and make them bigger from using that platform.
So I think the first thing, from what I know anyway, is that breaking was brought in because the Olympics needed new eyes, right? It was losing its... I mean, the Olympics will forever be the Olympics, but how do we keep interest going and blah, blah, blah. So I think that was the first thing. And the interest in breaking is like insane. So I think that's the first thing they're going to be shocked about. It's like I think breaking the first day is already sold out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or it's been sold out for months or something ridiculous, right? The second thing I realized is that it's really about money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Like, so the way the federations have set breaking up, we're not going into the games with any official sponsors that I'm aware of. We're not, like, I know in the beginning there was a chat with them and a Red Bull. Again, I don't know too many of the details, but it didn't pan out.
Yeah.
So why weren't they working with people within the space?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, from breakers to the brands that support this dance in that way
To improve
make
it.
sure absolute success.
Yeah.
From TV rights, and because it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is like, sure, there are other sports that deserve it. And as a breaker, I would have loved the additional opportunity. But I don't understand that world. Like, maybe the money was just there, you know? And it sucks because if you're saying it's for upliftment of sports, then that's a complete no-brainer.
Yes.
to me.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm opening my mind to, like, maybe there's a chat we're not aware
Fully
of.
aware of,
right?
yeah.
Which in itself is a problem. But if we don't go to 28 and I've got to wait for the next one, because there's a chance that they readmit. I mean, I could be almost touching 40, but
Yeah.
the guy that's just qualified and the girls who have just qualified are 39, 40, 41.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe that's my bloody story. Like the South African granny.
Hardly a granny
I don't
40.
know, but I can tell you that I'm going to be doing this for as long as I possibly
Okay,
can,
nice.
at the highest level that I can. And not just for like, cool, let me sit in front of the camera and have a chat. Like,
Yeah.
I really want us to be part of that global conversation and not from just to have a number, an African number,
Lovely.
you know?
Love it.
So let's see.
Love it. I think that's where we wrap it up. I think that's
Well,
we can't say any more than that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in, but also thank you so much to you, Courtnaé Paul, for sparing your time. I know you're busy,
Including load shedding.
including the load shedding.
put
Sorry,
my feet on the ground
we
for
tried.
this closing.
We tried to make this as professional as a setup as we
I
could.
was sitting with my feet up the whole time. I think I was fine. No, but thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Is this too close now?
No, it's perfect.
It always means a hell of a lot where, especially when guys from the outside want to just get to know like what the hell is happening
Yeah.
in there. Like, why are these people upside down? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you at the next ciphers, because there's a Pansula here. This one's
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
come with
yeah.
his ball. He's going to...
I'm there. I'm there.
I'm trying to picture him in the cipher, like rolling the ball. Like,
No,
but guys, thank you very much.
for me, I was the guy. The key is not to sweat.
Yeah, thanks. what's next from here on?
Competition-wise, next month, Notorious IBE in the Netherlands. 2 months after that, Afro Break in Ghana. December, World Final Red Bull BC1 in Brazil. Currently working on L'Oreal, Shield, Red Bull campaigns. Got a Forbes feature coming out next month. There's a lot going on, man. And again, for me, like I allow myself that, like, oh, amazing, and then on to the next.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. All the best.
All the best.
All of this.
I'll take it.
Because we really want to see not just you, but just breaking on a global platform.
Oh, and on that note, next year, my own jam, we're gonna make it shake.
Oh,
like,
breaking
and Olympics 2050.
Come on.
I have one thing to say.
Yeah.
I heard Brazil. Lunga must take us to Brazil.
We need to
go to Brazil, guys.
Just like before we close this, last year, was it Paris? Last year. Yeah. I'm like, so I'm not a party I know I'm a baller fan, but I'm a very, like, I go do my job and I go home. I'm laying in my bed. Saturday night, I think after the main, like, battle. Yeah. Laying in bed, my phone goes off. It's long. Yo, where are you? So I'm like, I'm in bed. He's like, yo, we're at this party. Please come save us. Please come play something.
This is Paris.
He's sending me voice notes like, this is what they're playing. I'm like,
he wants a free set. Yeah, no, cool, guys. Please also
like, subscribe.
You know the deal. Like, subscribe, comment. Tell us who you would like to see sitting right here in the middle of this couch, speaking about the fabulous sport that they do themselves. Whatever. Just please comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode. Tanto!